Hello, everybody. I am Lauren Weinberg, psychologist turned the becoming coach. I specialize in women's empowerment and holistic well being.
Hi, and I'm Melanie McLeod, and I am a professional certified coach. I specialize in spiritual coaching, life coaching, and business coaching. Welcome to Talking Transformation Live.
Where it is always real talk in real time for real people, because we're real people and so are you. And we love to have these conversations to share what we've learned from working with our clients so that hopefully you can learn something and grow and change along with us. So, hi, Melanie. How are you?
Hi, Lauren. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I just want to let everybody know that if you are joining us, this conversation was taped earlier today. So we apologize for not being live, but we will be back with you live again next Monday. And we would love to have you join us in the conversation.
Absolutely. So,
So,
Lauren, today's topic I think, is an interesting topic because there's so many different ways of looking at feedback. What is feedback? Feedback is things that you can receive from people, but it's also what you're giving to people. So, how do we accept feedback? And I'd love to start with that one because a lot of times people go from one extreme to the other with accepting feedback. It's either no one's going to tell me what to do, or I got to give feedback on everything. Should I buy this? Should I eat this?
right. How does this look? Can I buy this shirt? Does this look right? I see that so often with the young people now, right? They
Yeah,
don't do anything without asking for feedback. At that point, it becomes, I think, just approval, but there is something in between, right? There's something certainly in between needing it and wanting it to make our every move and feeling like we don't want to hear anything about ourselves. And I think that it's in that sweet spot that if you can use feedback, learn to use feedback as a gift, then you really can learn from it and it can help you grow.
absolutely. It's a different way of looking at things. And we did a whole talk on perspective. Getting feedback sometimes can be being able to see or hear a different perspective. So it doesn't mean because someone gives me feedback that it's an automatic, you're right and I'm wrong. And I think that sometimes people think that if they accept feedback, it means that they're wrong. And I think it's important to be able to hear someone else's perspective, receive feedback, but not feel that because I receive feedback, I have to do something. You don't have to do anything. You can hear it, you can accept it, you can receive it, you can ponder over it, and you can decide if it's something that you wanted to do something different with. And I think that a lot of us, and I'm one included, that felt that if I received other people's feedback, that it meant that they're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hear feedback and they feel like it's an instant condemnation
Yeah,
about them. And because of that, they immediately develop a sort of defensive attitude. And you know that you have that defensive attitude when, the first thing out of your mouth might be no, or it might be, I don't do that, or some other form of like negative, like you're literally putting up a roadblock saying, don't, I'm not open for this information. But if you can, like you're saying, if you can remember that it's just information. This is meant to help you grow. Look, of course you have to consider the source of the feedback, right? There are often times that it may not be from such a healthy source. But if it is a source that you trust, if it's somebody who's has your interests of growth in mind, then if you can approach it with an open heart and an open ear, then you really stand to learn something valuable, something that is meant to help you grow. And I truly believe that all of our relationship that we have in this lifetime whether it's a huge relationship like a family member or a spouse or friendship, or if it's somebody that we're in relationship with at work. All of these relationships are meant in a very kind of universal way to teach us lessons.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that happens indirectly and sometimes it happens directly. And feedback could be one of those ways that we're meant to get some really important information from somebody else.
I agree. I remember like for years, I taught for years. I taught high school, I taught college, and it was a thing where I have a lot of experience teaching. So when valuation time would come, most of the time, I never got any feedback. They would write up an evaluation, put it on in my record, and it was great. We're good. One year, I was doing a project at a Catholic school, and this nun came in to evaluate me. And then she calls me in to meet with me. And not only gave me written feedback, but gave me verbal
Mm-hmm.
feedback. And at first, I was kind of like, why is she telling me how to teach? I've been teaching for 20 years or however long it is. I know how to teach. And, it was the immediate. But then when I got rid of the ego and I read what she wrote and I listened to what she had suggested, I feel like my teaching went to a whole different level that I didn't even know existed because I learned something or thought about it from a completely different perspective. I was like, I never really thought about that. And when I did what she suggested, I could feel that I was doing something that was really beneficial to the students and was making me an even better teacher.
And maybe, you hadn't come across her earlier because you weren't open to receiving what she had to give. But
Well, I
when the
was
time
forced to
was right,
receive it. I was in a Catholic environment where the nun's sitting there like, yeah, I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm like, yeah, you sure
but
are.
you needed a little distance from that. That makes total sense. Listen, when I was learning to become a family therapist, I learned by doing therapy in front of a one-way mirror for a year. And what would happen is there would be a phone in the room and the phone would buzz, and I'd have to pause what I was doing with my clients and get up and answer the phone. And on the other end, I was getting immediate feedback from the team that was behind the mirror, which consisted of two supervisors and all of my classmates. And that was the learning environment. So I had to learn to be open to feedback. I had no choice. This was a sink or swim situation. And then we met with these two evaluators, two supervisors on a weekly basis where they continued to give feedback. And a lot of that feedback really was uncomfortable because growth happens at the edges of our comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? And this was a huge growth experience, a lot to learn in a short amount of time. And so I was uncomfortable for an entire year. But it was an invaluable learning experience, both about, on so many levels,
Yeah.
about the therapy, obviously, about the modality, but also about myself, also about how I took feedback and about
Yes.
whether or not I could remain open
Yes.
and learn even when I was so uncomfortable for that length of time.
Wow. Yes. I can understand that totally. The other side of this, though, is our need to give feedback. And I'm learning. And I tell you, before I used to think that,
Mm.
oh, well, they just don't know. So of course they want me to tell them. It's like you come in like I'm saving the world and I'm going to help all these people who don't know it. They're just going to be so appreciative of me coming in and saving the day and letting them know exactly how they needed to do things. I found that wow, that's probably not what's happening at all here. So I learned, that I can think whatever I want to think. But if someone's not asking me my opinion or looking toward me like you got some feedback here, why am I interjecting my feedback all over people? And so I've learned to just be quiet. I don't need to tell everybody everything I think they should be doing.
It's so funny that you should say that because I feel like it has taken me all of my years to learn that one. I, I have ideas all the time on how things can be better. To me, it seems universal. And I feel like, of course, they would want this feedback, the same thing, because it's meant just to make things better. I'm not criticizing what is, I'm just offering a way to level up. So, we have a certain restaurant in the area that we go to frequently. And we have a great relationship with the owner, but he sees me coming and he says, "Oh, it's my little food critic." Because A, I'm little, and B, because I tend to tell him how I think, he can make things even better. And, it really took me a long time to learn that lesson that you were saying, Melanie, that unless, someone is asking for that feedback, or at least I've learned, and my coaching has helped a lot with that as well, to say, can I offer you some feedback? They may say no, thank you. And then I have to be okay with that, but it's at least asking or keeping it to yourself, unless it's a formal setting where you are meant to be giving somebody feedback, right?
Because one of the things that we don't realize is that, in our mind and in our heads, the way we see things makes sense. But what we forget is the way the person we're talking to sees things makes sense to them too. So just as much as we don't agree with what they're doing, they don't agree with what you're doing either. So it's kind of a thing where, there is no one advice is going to change the world. We all see things differently. We all do things differently. And if we're respectful to each other, we sometimes can be open to be able to say, "Oh, I never thought about doing it that way," versus someone coming at you with, "What I am doing is so much better than what you're doing. So you might want to do it my way." We have to be really careful to not make it seem like it's my way, your way, better, good, bad. It's none of that. But I can say that being married and never understanding the way he does things, because we're complete opposites, which is great sometimes, because I do get to see things in a way I would never see it. And, I have done a lot more listening, to his point of view. And sometimes I don't always want to tell him, but sometimes it's like, wow, that's actually pretty good. I don't know if I want to let him know that, but that's actually good. So you learn, you grow from just being able to hear what someone else is saying.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, that if you are giving feedback, you do it like everything else that we talk about, from a place of love and kindness, right? From a place of wanting to help somebody grow, and not from a place of, well, let me show you what I know, or let me keep you down by putting myself up. Just as we do encourage everybody, interact with people in your life from a place of love and kindness, and growth will happen. The care comes through. People will be able to listen with a more open heart, and you'll be able to listen with a
Absolutely.
more open heart. And I think another piece of this, which is so often what comes up in coaching with people, is to be able to take in that feedback from yourself, right? So you have to have an open heart and an open ear for your own internal feedback as well, right? When that voice is speaking up that is trying to tell you something, to
Oh,
listen,
yeah.
right? And when your body is telling you something, listen. This is just another kind of feedback,
Yeah.
right? Trust that gut interaction, that gut intuition that you have. Trust that when you're getting a sinking feeling, it means something.
But it's also too about the fact that even as a coach, and I think that's the one thing I love the most about being a coach, because there are a lot of coaches out here that are not trained coaches,
Mhm.
and they think that telling people what to do is coaching. And they
Yeah.
think that, okay, let me tell you how you should be living your life, and then you're going to be better because you did what I said, and that's not coaching at all. And I think that that when people ask me, what my advice is, or I'm going to turn it back on you. What
Yeah,
is your advice to yourself?
that's right.
Because the feedback that you want to give, because we're real quick to give feedback to others, but at the same time, you do need to give feedback to yourself. So in that moment, what am I doing? What am I saying? Why am I saying it? Is this the right thing for me? Am I thinking about the person, or am I thinking about myself? What is my motivation for the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Absolutely. And that is the beauty that is coaching. That is, like, as you're saying, trained coaches are a mirror, and we're meant to help reflect you back to you. Right? I always say my expertise is helping you get at your expertise.
Yeah.
And it's helping you ask yourself and answer all of those important questions that you just mentioned, right? What is happening in this situation? What am I learning from it? Where is the good? How is this going to help move me forward? How can I bring my strengths to bear? Like, all of this is the stuff that is listening to your own heart, listening to that feedback arising from within yourself. And that really helps you, bringing it all full circle, when you are secure and confident in where you stand, in knowing yourself, what your strengths are, what some of the opportunities are for growth.
Yeah.
You then can take in feedback from other people. And like you said, you can measure it against, is this something that will really be useful for me to help me grow? Or is this something that I can set aside? And
Absolutely.
right, so it's all a big feedback loop.
And it's a choice. It's a choice to accept it or not accept it. And it's also a choice to not get angry because someone gave it to you. So I don't need to be angry at anyone for giving me feedback. I don't have to like the feedback. I don't have to accept the feedback, but I don't need to have emotions about it. It's like, okay, that was their opinion. They're entitled to it. And then I get to decide whether, there's something in it for me. There's that little nugget in there that I could learn and grow from, or not, can't find any nuggets in that one, and I can just toss it and move on.
No more nuggets left. Crumple up the white piece of paper bag and throw it out.
I was looking for them gold. I was looking for them golden nuggets, not the golden brown one.
Gold nuggets. Not
Okay,
chicken nuggets? Oh, okay.
no chicken nuggets.
And on that note, we
Yes.
hope that you all listening found some really good nuggets in this conversation. We would love to hear from you, and please drop your thoughts about feedback in the comments. We would love to keep the conversation going. And until then,
You can contact us at talkingtransformationlive@gmail.com or at our respective websites, lawrence.lastingchangewellness.com or me at coachyouSolutions.com. Again, thanks for viewing. Please tell all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, and we hope to see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
right, take care until next time.